You can't talk about, you can't show programs that teach us or tell us who we are. In a serious drama, in a comedy, we get nothing, zero. And so, what you see in Empire is that Hakeem has mommy issues because his mama was in prison for 17 years when he was just a child, right? And because he has mommy issues, he takes up with an older woman, Naomi Campbell, right? And he calls her mommy. He has sex with Naomi Campbell. That's an Oedipus complex, isn't it, my sister? Yeah. All of that's playing out on television. And in one particular episode, she says, we are like Anthony and Cleopatra. And he said, yeah, we're like Anthony and Cleopatra. And his brother Jamal says, fool, don't you know they both got killed? He doesn't know history. History's not important to him. But in that episode, I saw, as Cookie was talking to her husband, I saw an ankh on his desk. I said, And as Lucius and Naomi Campbell were walking down the hallway in his house, I saw a sphinx in his house. And that made me look at this movie even deeper. All right, it made me look at the art direction, the person responsible for determining what's in the background, the pictures, the statues. All of that is there. The placement of those things is there for a specific purpose. And as I began to look at the art of Empire, I was scared to death. All right? So let me show you what's coming down the pipe. You see this incredible artwork. You see this incredible artwork. You see this incredible artwork, all in the backdrop. Subconsciously, you're seeing all of this artwork. Let me talk briefly about the art of Empire. Let me talk briefly about this artwork. In order to talk about the artwork, I got to talk about the artist. Do you all know who this man is? Kehinde Wiley. Kehinde Wiley has an African father, a Nigerian father, an African-American mother, and he is openly gay. He is a talented artist who makes these incredibly intricate, larger than life-size portraits of gay men. And he paints these portraits in poses similar to the portraits of the great European masters. So he's juxtapositioning gay black males against famous, powerful white males, giving power to gay males. And these images are all up in Empire. This is what the creators of this show are doing. So let me talk a little bit about Wiley. Wiley says, this is a quote from him, I really love playing the trickster, really love the trickster stance that the artist is capable of occupying. The artist is one of those agents that allows for destabilization to be the affair of the day. So that's his agenda, to destabilize society by introducing and ramming down your throat homosexuality. This is the agenda that white folk have, and they will select the Negroes who will articulate that so that they can stand in the background and watch us self-destruct. That is what is happening with Empire. And it gets deeper. I ain't attacking homosexuals. Let me be clear about this. I'm not attacking homosexuals. Folk have the right to make love to marry whoever they want to marry. But you don't have the right to jam your stuff down my throat. When you do that, then we got to fight. I will defend what I know is right.
That's right.
And I would talk about it, I would discuss it in an intelligent way. I will bring my evidence forward to show how certain people's agenda is designed specifically, as he says, to destabilize the order of the day. That is their intended agenda. And I'm holding them accountable, specific individuals accountable for what they say. I'm being very specific, right? So it gets deeper, brothers and sisters, it gets deeper. There was an article written about Mr. Wiley. The writer of the article says, Wiley's paintings are large and hard to ignore as he paints proud, bold, nearly regal images of black men, many who are gay, and putting them in public spaces. By doing this, he is deconstructing concepts of normalcy, including heteronormalcy, the cultural bias in favor of opposite-sex relationships and against same-sex relationships. Now, I read this piece, I said, now, I had never heard this word, heteronormativity, before. Yeah. Heteronormativity, never heard this word before, so I looked it up. Heteronormativity is a pervasive and institutionalized ideological system that neutralizes heterosexuality as universal. It must continually reproduce itself to maintain hegemony over other non-normative sexualities and ways of identity construction. So this is their agenda, to deconstruct your idea of what is normal and create a new normal of the modern family, a new normal of marriage, to redefine sexuality. I just heard on the news yesterday, to show you where this stuff is going, I just heard on the news yesterday that homosexuals, gays, lesbians, and transgenders in certain states now have the right to change their sexual identity on their birth certificates.
Oh my goodness.
Huh? Who has given them that power, and why is that power being given to them, and what will be the outcome of that? See, y'all got to look into the future and see where this thing is going.
Yeah. You can see where it's going.
Now, I mean, really see where it's going, all right? So, this is disturbing, right?
There.
But I'm going to show you something even more disturbing. Even more. And I'm showing this to you, I'm providing you all with information so that you all can determine how you're going to use this information. I've just done the research. I'm sharing my research with you so that you can determine how you're going to respond to it. In another article entitled Race and Sexuality, The Art of Kehinde Wiley, the author of this article pointed out that Wiley's obsession with sperm. His obsession with sperm cells. In this painting, a huge painting, one of his most famous pieces, he showed a detail of the painting. Right here is a detail. And what you notice are little bitty sperm cells all over this painting and every painting that he does. Look at this frame. Look at this elaborate, expensive frame. Let me enlarge a detail of the corner of the frame. And what do you see in that detail? You see an egg-like shape with sperm cells swimming all over it. Now, wait a minute. If this ain't perverted, I don't know what is. I mean, yes, you got the right to go to bed with whoever you want, to marry whoever you want, but wait a minute, wait. This is perversion. Keep this someplace else, but this is being brought out front and center in everybody's life. This is the new normal. This is the new normal. This is their agenda. So, is it a coincidence that his art is prominently featured in Empire? Is it a coincidence? Is it good marketing? Is it a conspiracy, or is it a combination of the three? So my job is to observe my environment, to provide an analysis of my observations, and present my analysis to those with the greatest need to know, so that you can figure out what it is you should be doing, what it is you should or should not be watching, all right? 2 more observations to share and I'm done, all right? We're cool. I go to Selma every year. Been going to Selma for like the last 7 years. Work closely with the organizers of the annual Jubilee, the Bloody Sunday Jubilee, who've been doing this. They've been doing this for about 27 years. They pay for this out of their own pocket. I'm not going to go into all the details that's involved in that, but at the last Jubilee, March 6, 2015, known as Bloody Sunday. I forgot this. Let me finish on Wiley before I do this, to show you where all of this is going. Wiley recently had an article, January the 28th, 2015, the New York Times did an article on Wiley and praised his artwork. The week before, Wiley was honored by the Secretary of State at the State Department in Washington, D.C. He was honored for his artwork. John Kerry said, Kehinde Wiley has redefined the art of portraiture by using highly realistic technique, not only to depict, but also to celebrate and to uplift the world's people in their magnificent variety. For his work in the Dominican Republic, in Britain, Jamaica, China, Europe, his work is everywhere. I congratulate Kehinde and thank him for his commitment. That's the Secretary of State. That's the United States government honoring this man. So you got to know high-level folk are behind this agenda.
Exactly.
Let's be clear.
Yes.
And this happened the week after Empire premiered. So this stuff is not coincidental. He's getting big press. He's getting national recognition because he's doing good work. He's doing good work. So Selma, I go to Selma every year, right? Involved in the bridge crossing. My good friend Michael Brown designed the official poster for the 50th Jubilee of Bloody Sunday. Michael Brown is the artist who did the cover of my book, Nile Valley Contributions to Civilization. Michael Brown is the artist who did the Million Man March poster, the Million Woman March poster. Incredibly talented artist. So why isn't his work on Empire? Because he's not gay. Because he's not in those circles. Because all of his work proudly depicts the accomplishments of African people. He's always been consistent about showing us in our best light, and his work will never be acknowledged by the Secretary of State. Never be honored by the U.S. government. Never get an article in the New York Times. Why? Because y'all ain't supposed to be interested in this stuff. You're supposed to be doing everything within your power to allow yourself to be a part of the American dream. That's what the program is. And so at this last march, here's Michael Brown at the march with Dr. Jeffries and his wife Rosalind Jeffries. There were over 70,000 people in Selma, Alabama for that march. I didn't march across the bridge this year because I saw there was too many other things going on that I needed to focus my attention on. I was interested in checking out the crowd. And as I walked among the crowd, listened to conversations, observed behavior, I heard person after person after person talking about scandal, talking about empire, talking about something that is destroying, that is antithetical to the very reason why they are in Selma. The vast majority of the people who were there just to get a picture of the president, just to get a picture of them walking across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, just to get a t-shirt, get some food, and go home. None of them were prepared to deal with the larger issues of the U.S. government eroding our hard-fought right to vote. That's being taken away now like never before. Like never before. Why? Because we zombies. We sleep at the wheel. We don't know what's going on. What bothered me most about Selma, and I got to speak on it as I wind down, what bothered me most about Selma is that when people crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge, what were they confronted with? On the west side of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where all of the beatings took place, there's a 40-foot wide billboard that's put up by the Klan. For the last 7 years I've been coming to Selma, the Klan has always had a billboard at that site. And it's sponsored by the Friends of Nathan Bedford Forrest. If you don't know who Nathan Bedford Forrest is, let me enlighten you. Nathan Bedford Forrest is the Confederate general who founded the Ku Klux Klan, the oldest terrorist organization in the United States of America. Look at this tagline here. Keep the scare on them. The scare on who? On Negroes, on colored people, on black folk. Keep us scared so that we'll stay in our place, so that they can continue to control us. That's what it's all about. That's what it's always been about. That's what it will always stay about until you wake up and say, no, game over. If we don't get what we need, nobody gets nothing.
That's
And
right.
that attitude is not militant. That attitude is a self-determining attitude that every person who lives and breathes has the right to express as they move through life. And if you're afraid to do that, if you don't know how to do that, then there's something wrong with you. You've been watching the wrong thing. You've been reading the wrong thing. You've been listening to the wrong people. But I got faith in your ability to make a course correction. We all have the capacity to change if we know what's wrong. If someone can convince us with love and compassion that there is a need for a change. And if you're willing to take my hand and let me show you what change looks like. We got to help each other do it because we're some sick people.
Yes, Lord.
We are sick people.
Yes.
We need help.
Yes, we did.
So the ultimate insult to Bloody Sunday, and I saw this myself all throughout Selma, the night before the march, some folk drove through the neighborhood and dispersed all throughout the black community in Selma, Alabama, and Montgomery, Alabama, these flyers.
Yeah, I heard about that.
This is the actual flyer I picked up and have in my possession right now. Save our land, join the Klan. They got a telephone number, they got a website, they got an address. So you know what? I encourage you all to call that number. Call that number and express your displeasure with his position. Now you get a voicemail, I know, but do it anyway. You know, check out his website, leave an email and express your displeasure with what they're doing. You can't just sit back and let this slide. So look, let me close, and I'm gonna close by showing you this one piece. So let me just show this one piece, and this says it all. This is a piece we did back in 1973, short segment with Sam. Yeah, we did a tribute to Listervelt Middleton, a brother who understood the importance, the power of imagery, and produced program after program after program of the best of African people, and he presented it for the people, for black folk. And he called hell in South Carolina for bringing us positive programming. They tried to shut him down year after year after year. We kept fighting for the brother, putting our arms around him, supporting him. So we held a tribute for him in Washington, D.C. in January 1993. And Sam Yet talked about the importance of imagery. He wrote a book called The Choice.
That's right about
And the choice should be next to your Bible. I'm not going to deal with all of that tonight, but you all need to buy, read. Nati, you got copies of The Choice? See Nati and buy a copy of The Choice from Nati. Don't buy it on Amazon.
That's right.
Support this brother.
That's right.
Spend your money with people who look like you so that he can continue to expand his business and be supportive of other authors. All right? That's simple. So let me share with you Sam Yet, and we're going to close this out.
Asa Hilliard had shared with Listervelt a story I had shared with Asa Hilliard, and Listervelt asked me to tell it, so I do. While I was in the People's Republic of China in 1977, before going in 77, I had written a paper. I was here at Howard at the time, and I had written a paper in which I had theorized that in order for the Chinese people to have come from where they were in this century and to have become the third most powerful nation in the world, something must have happened that was profound in the minds of the masses of the Chinese people. And I had written this paper saying that something like that had happened, so I went to China, quite frankly, looking to find out what phenomenal thing had taken place in China. So every place we stopped along the way, I would ask my leader, my guide, if he would introduce me to some philosophy or teacher of language or whatever who would help me understand drama or something that had happened to the people. And they don't call the Chinese inscrutable for nothing. They would just smile like they didn't understand what I was talking about. But they did. And my leader finally, I was in my third week in China, and we went in the city of Xi'an, where they have City Hall records are thousands of years old, but we went to see a play. And on that Sunday night, we were looking at this play, and suddenly I knew that whoever directed that play knew what I was talking about. Well, now it's been 3 weeks, and I turned to my guy and I said, Mr. Liu, I want to meet the director of this play. He was no longer inscrutable. He said, all right, afterward, we'll have a reception and you can meet him. We did. A 29-year-old young fellow. And I began to talk with him, and I said, as I saw in this play, how was it that you showed the oppressed masses in China in heroic terms, not downtrodden, not beaten, not evil, not immoral? How was that? And he smiled and he said, yes, of course. For example, if we want to show that he is poor, we don't show him with dirty clothes. We show him with clothes that are clean, but with patches. I said, then tell me, what is it that happened? Something like this must have happened to the masses in China to cause them to be able to revolt and throw the capitalists out and to take over their country. He said, oh yes. He said, you're talking about the caves of Yan'an. Now, quite frankly, I had done some reading in preparation for going to time, but I'd never heard of the caves of Yan'an. I said, I am? Okay, tell me about the caves of Yan'an. Well, cutting through it now. He said in 1942, Chairman Mao brought all the artists and writers, journalists, to the caves of Yan'an, which the Chinese call the place of revolution. And in there, he said, he kept them for months while they propounded a way to convert the minds of the Chinese people so that they could, in fact, mount a revolution against those who oppressed them. And what they came away with was a book, as a matter of fact, which told how they would no longer show the oppressed people as being anti-heroic. That would have to be the oppressor. He would have to be the immoral person, and so forth. Well, I got a copy of the book. I did. And the next morning, I asked if I could have an interview at length with this young fellow. They said yes. So the next morning, they brought him to my hotel where my wife and I sat to interview him. The Chinese very much are ritualized when it comes to this. You must have tea before you can talk, and if they really enjoy it, you have a photograph afterward. So we had planned a photograph in the lobby of the hotel, and we sat and had tea for a while, and then we got into the interview. One of the truly most fantastic 2 hours I had with this young fellow, 29 years old. And at the end of it, after he had explained to me how the Chinese mind had been changed so that the immoral landholder who oppressed the people was the immoral one and that the good guy was the oppressed. Then he said, before you go, he said, I would like to ask you a question. I said, of course. He said, in China, we don't see many movies from America, but we do see some television and some of the movies and all. And he said, tell me, he says, I think I know the answer, he said, but isn't it true that back there in America, the white men put dark things on their faces and go and play in plays like Samson and Son and all of these comedies that show your people in a negative way? Said, these are not really your own people doing this, are they? Said, your own people would not do this. These are the white Americans who color their faces and act like they are African people. Well, actually no. These are, by and large, our own people. And he repeated the question because he didn't think he got the right answer. He said, now, I mean those people who play in these shows that show this fellow who sits at the table with his hat on and talks bad about his sister and disrespects his mother and calls it good times. Now, these are not your people, are they? Actually, I know some of them personally. They are my people. At that point, the interview changed 180 degrees. His face shrank. There was no more smile. And he looked at me with a sternness that I'll never forget. He looked at me and very sternly he said, such a people will never know freedom. No photograph.
Okay? So this is 1993, describing something that happened 20 years earlier. So what do you think the Chinese are saying about black people right now? You don't deserve freedom. China has become the #1 world power because they control the images that their people internalize. They prepare them for success. Chinese are all up in Africa now. They're taking over Africa. Chinese men are marrying African women. Why not? We don't want to go to Africa. So Chinese are in Africa. They're building roads. They're building bridges. They're building dams. And they are going, and they're inheriting land, and Africa is going to be theirs in about 100 years. And the world is going to ask, our ancestors are going to ask, where were we? What were we doing? And why did we allow this to happen? And you're going to say, I was watching Empire. I was watching Scandal. I was watching How to Get Away with Murder, listening to this person and that person, and they're going to say, you don't deserve our help. And when your ancestors turn their back on you, it's game over. We got work to do, brothers and sisters. We got work to do. Let's get busy. Jabari, it's yours.
Thank you. Give it up for Brother Tony Browder. Give it up. Did an excellent job. Excellent job. Brothers and sisters, if I could just have your attention for just a few more minutes. If you can have a seat for just a few more minutes, got a couple announcements to make. I know the hour is getting late, but by doing this event, I put on there on my Facebook page earlier that I lost quite a few Facebook friends. I got unfriended. You got unfriended too? Yeah, I mean, no, seriously. People really caught feelings from us talking about empire. It was like it became a religion for people. Oh, my God. You talking. See, that's what I'm talking about with you, Jabari. You always got to talk about something. God, you can't just look at something for fun. I was like, I don't see nothing fun about it. You know what I mean? So, so when we do these events and you see the crowd right now, you see this crowd right here, and it's an older crowd because a lot of young people was not trying to hear about empire, and their mothers wasn't trying to hear about empire. Right now, this young man I see sitting here, and that little baby, beautiful baby girl there, and Watoto from the Nile, the youngest people in the room, give them a big round of applause tonight. Because they will tell you, I made them sit here and watch this today. And you can't be a member of Watoto from the Nile unless you learning and you study. Part of being a Watoto from the Nile is study because we training you to be queens. Queens. So when you hear them get up here and rap and spit, they ain't kicking nothing but consciousness, inspiration, something about health or whatever. You know what I mean? That's what we do. And that's what we're training them for. And if we are not setting up the great line of divine from Dr. Ben to Brother Tony Browder to Brother Nati and all of the other giants that's in this room here tonight, you know what I mean, from Jabari, I got to pass this down to my daughters. Because if I don't pass it down to my daughters, what future do we have? We'd just be a bunch of people coming in, and we older people in here watching this tonight, like, oh, that was good, Brother Tony. But if they ain't getting it, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? And that's why I spent the last 6-7 years right now, my life training these young girls, because I said we got to get this information down to the youth. I've been doing lectures for 20 years, and I see people come out, and it's good because we've helped plant the seeds and help start organizations and different things, but I saw some missing components, and I know that we had to work with the youth and get these youth involved and get this information down because a lot of people, I've seen through the years, people come out and then they just stop coming and all those different things. Now, just to move forward, Brother Tony and other scholars, and I appreciate them because they're the last of a breed. The difference is today, I could talk to Brother Tony, Dr. Ben, and a lot of these folks, and I developed personal relationships with these people. They know because I called them a million times, especially being young. Like, oh, it's me, Jabari again. Like, yes, Jabari. But I developed personal relationships with them, talking to them back and forth. And one thing about them, they weren't money hungry. Sister Dr. Patricia knew they weren't money hungry when it came to these. They wanted to get this knowledge and information out to the people. Yeah, we got financial obligations. We got to make sure that the brother's taken care of and the sister's taken care of. We got obligations, but it wasn't the driving force. And one of the things I see now with most of the young lecturers that's coming up, dealing with. They don't want to talk on the phone. You can't call them and talk to them and send me an email. You know what I mean? Send an email, so it's all like, oh, man, okay, so send you an email, this, that. Yeah, just hit me on Facebook. You know what I mean? And you can't talk to them, and then it's like, hey, I want $5,000. I want $5,000. And that's what most of them asking for. So it's going to come a time that we probably won't even be able to do events like this because most of the new lecturers ain't coming out unless you give them $5,000. 5G, and we ain't got $5,000 at this particular time to give any lecture out there today. So, you know, Brother Tony and many of the folks that's been coming with us for years. Dick Gregory comes out, and this is a guy who's made millions. And he'll come out for Reality Speaks and deal with our budget and say, hey, I want to get this information out to the people, right? Brother Tony, he'll come out. I mean, you know, and we really appreciate these brothers and sisters from coming out. So when we raise donations, we want to raise some donations now because this helps us to take it over the top. Most of the times, we don't get enough people to come out at one particular event to take it over the top. And this is not for anybody to get offended. We appreciate, because I see, like I look and see faces, I see people that's been giving us for years, always giving. So when we raise donations, don't catch an attitude. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have it, just don't give it. Say, hey, I'm going to give some good vibrations, some good spirit here tonight. All right, everybody got a problem with that? We good? I know it's late. How the Africans feel? Oh, my God. One more time. How the Africans feel? Wide awake. Okay, all right. Wide awake. All right, I hear that. So